Andy Nowicki, AltRightNovelist.com. I wanted to comment on a phenomenon that I see, and I've commented a little bit on this before. It's something that you see cropping up online, and I guess some people actually hire these types of people that I'm about to talk about and pay them money and get more personal one-on-one kind of attention in this regard. Or maybe they speak at seminars. They probably earn their keep in some way or other. But what I'm talking about are life coaches, those who term themselves to be life coaches. Now, a lot of the life coaches seem to be telling you how to basically win friends and influence people. In the words of the famous book by Norman Vincent Peale from several years ago. It's that same kind of idea, but they have videos on YouTube where they talk about various different ways in which, strategies that you can use to maximize your effect on others and to get them to take you seriously and to get them to see you as a person to be valued, see you as a person of status. Status really does very much come into play in these cases, these life coaches. So, and there, of course, there is stuff about the opposite sex, and to the extent that this is preached to men, then this kind of follows in the line of the pickup artists, what used to be called the pickup artists. I don't know what they're called anymore, or if they are even called anything new. Maybe they've just all morphed into life coaches now. I don't know. But there are two examples of this, one male, one female, and the guy is someone that I've already commented on, somebody I've already spoken about, and he is he goes under the handle of Charisma Matrix, and you can find him on YouTube. And I've spoken about him before in various videos that he's recorded. And I think what I said before about him was that he, in all honesty, doesn't seem like a bad guy. He doesn't seem like a huckster. He seems like maybe somebody who, one gets the impression, actually wants to help. And I'm not precluding that idea that these life coach type of people, well, I'm sure that I do think it is a racket. I will say that for reasons that I'll explain in a moment. I also think that they might actually believe in what they're doing. And there's no reason to necessarily think that they don't. And the vibes that I get, again, from the Charisma Matrix guy, who has a name, I'm not remembering it right now. It's a name that's given, he mentions himself by name in his videos. So if you look them up, you can see what it is. But the way that he presents himself, he actually does seem like somebody who is interested in helping. Now I'm sure he gets something out of it besides, a feeling of a warm feeling inside at having helped his fellow men. But he still might actually believe the hype about the message that he's preaching. So I've spoken about Charisma Matrix, and I also would draw your attention to, on the other side of the aisle, gender-wise, a woman named Deanna Lorraine. Deanna Lorraine is a rather attractive woman, and she speaks in this very sexy, flirtatious kind of way. Nothing, absolutely shamelessly overt, but she does amp up the sex appeal as a way of relating to her audience. And her audience seems to largely be the audience that she strives to have seems to largely be men. So she's got titles like "Hottest Things to Say to a Woman." A lot of people wrote in the comments section, and I was one of them. I thought I had come up with this witticism, but it turned out I was well beaten to the punch. That the hottest thing you could say to a woman is, "I'm a millionaire." So, but anyway, that's one of her videos. How to keep a girl sexually satisfied and hot for you. That's another one she has. Let me see if I can read some other titles of her videos. Okay, scrolling down a little bit. Oh, she has some things to say about the Me Too backlash and things like that. She's an anti-feminist. She's appeared on RT News, interestingly. Russian agent. So she takes a culturally conservative stance, or an anti-PC, anti-SJW stance on things, which is great. But so other examples of, okay, the war on masculinity. She has a lot of videos which are cultural commentary, it would seem, but a lot of them are like how to do this for a woman, how to attract a woman, how to flirt with a woman, how to get over your fear of approaching a woman, and so forth and so on. Now she seems to have some other videos which are geared towards women, but I haven't seen as many of those. So on the one hand, again, these are just two examples of life coaches. On the one hand, you've got Charisma Matrix guy, on the other hand, Deanna Lorraine. And both of them are out there saying the same kind of things. Or what they're all about is giving you ideas, giving you strategies to become somebody who is seen as valuable, seen as high status, seen as somebody who should be taken seriously, seen as sexy, seen as handsome, seen as attractive, and so forth. Now, my problem with both of them is something very particular, and I want to make clear what I am saying so that it becomes clear that I'm not saying something else that I might be misunderstood, and probably will be misunderstood for saying here. Now, to the extent, to the degree that these life coach people tell you to do things to help improve yourself, and this goes also for any of the the kind of people who say hit the gym, get in shape, what have you. To the extent that any of them are saying, get up off your couch, stop browsing through porn sites on the internet, get out and do things that are good for you physically, good for you spiritually, good for you psychologically. I mean, I don't see any reason why anyone would object to that, and I don't. Well, I guess that the black pill types would just say, it's no use. It's no use no matter what you do. It's absolutely no use. But see, the reason, this actually connects to the broader point that I'm making here. The reason why this is what these black-pilled incels or true force loneliness types of guys, this is what they actually have in common with a lot of the red pill chase the pussy kind of guys, to be crude about it. What they have in common is, for both of them, it seems to be all about what you can get, or the question of, if you go out and do X, you will get Y. if you do this, that, and the other thing, if you modify your behavior, if you change how you relate to people, if you do these kinds of activities, if you know, they get very specific about it. You know, like, here are words you should use in these types of situations. Like this Deanna lady says that, you know, these are words that you should say in bed to your woman to keep her turned on. She's just she's specific about the words, and one of the words that she recommends is tight. You should say, you know, oh, you're tight. There's so much that's tight about you. Your body is tight. You should use. I mean, that's pretty specific. So, I mean, it's just amusing to think of guys watching this and saying, okay, taking notes and saying, okay, all right, say tight. Look her in the eye and say this, that, or the other thing. Look at her lips and smile lasciviously, and I don't know, whatever kinds of little specific tips that they come up with. And the same with the Charisma Matrix guy. He also has specific things. And I don't know, it's easy for me to question the efficacy of, it seems very contrived in a lot of ways, even if it's well meant. But anyway, getting back to my broader point here, it seems to me that the black pill incel types will say there's no reason to do any of these things because they won't work, because if you're unattractive, you're just unattractive, and that's all there is to it. You know, you were born into it, so you just have to accept your fate, and it's going to make you miserable, but you're just going to have to be miserable, and that's just the way it is. And whereas the other side says, you know, go out and do these things, you know, quit being such a pussy and go out and chase the pussy, and, you know, do this, that, and the other thing, get in shape and approach, and yeah, I mean, I guess it does ultimately become about trying to get women. You know, I started off speaking more broadly about things, but ultimately that seems to be what it is boiling down to. And what they say is you can change yourself and make yourself more attractive, and you should do it. And if you don't do it, then you've only got yourself to blame. Screw you, loser, if you're just gonna naysay all of this. Okay. What neither side seems to be thinking or considering is that you don't do X to get Y. You don't engage in this particular type of behavior as a means to an end. If a particular type of behavior is better, if it's healthier, if it's, I'm speaking of health in all levels of the meaning of that term, if living a certain way will help you be a better person and assist you in ultimately growing towards where you need to be, then that should be what it's all about for you. It shouldn't be about, well, you know, I need to try this or that or this or that or this or that, because something's got to work. Something's got to help me, help me become a more dynamic individual who people will find fascinating. But it's not supposed to be about how other people will think of you. Now, I understand we are social beings in a way that's ingrained in us, and it's not all bad, because if one lives in a healthy way, connected with his fellow man, then one has a healthy sense of guilt and a healthy sense of shame, and I'm healthy, not shame like the kind of bogus gaslighting, shaming that you see so often these days, from feminists and others. But a healthy shame, an idea that this is what a man should do. This is the way a man should behave. This is what a man should be. I need to live up to that. And if I don't live up to that, I'm not being the best person I can possibly be. Okay. But this kind of life coach philosophy seems to be very much connected or tuned in with what I would say a much less healthy sense of wanting to please and appease and impress other people. It seems to be more or less rooted in, I feel like a loser right now because, I don't know, I don't have a job, I'm poor, I don't have a girl, I can't get laid, however you want to put it. And so I need to help me do things so that I can get people to like me and get chicks to like me, and I can score, and I can become successful and be perceived as differently. It's not supposed to be about how you're perceived. It's supposed to be about who you are. And that's my central problem with these life coaches and others who are like them. Now, it's understandable, it's unfortunate, but it is understandable that they would hawk their wares in this way. Because I guess that when it comes to pursuing virtue as its own reward, when it comes to the idea of living healthy for health's sake, for the sake of doing, assisting yourself in doing what you were put here to do, whatever that might be, the best way possible, pursuing excellence, whatever that means for you, in the most efficacious way possible. That in itself is unfortunately not a great selling point. A better way to sell your message is to say, if you do this, you'll get money. If you do this, you'll get status. If you do this, you'll get women. Okay? So, of course, they would sell it in that way. But the thing is, if you do this, you won't necessarily get status. If you do this, you won't necessarily get money. If you do this, you won't necessarily get women. Okay? But that is not, or that should not be the point. That's what I'm saying here, and that's what I've tried to say all along, and that's what my entire low status male kind of philosophy is. That's what it's all about, really, even though some people have perceived me as being, like a black pill type of guy, as being somebody who dwells on the negative, or who is morose, or whatever. Ultimately, what I'm striving for is not to just wallow in your sense of hopelessness. What I'm striving for is to be self-sufficient in a way, to separate your sense of self-worth from how you're perceived by others. Whereas the life coach types seem to want to just lock you into how others are perceiving you. Are you popular? Are you do you have status? Do you attract the opposite sex? And while that, of course, probably pays dividends because it appeals to people on a more guttural kind of level, that's not what self-improvement should be all about, in my view. So those are my thoughts on the matter. Let me know if you have any of your own thoughts. Leave them down below. My name's Andy Nowicki. You can check out my work at altrightnovelist.com.